The art of managing remote sales teams effectively. Remote selling is the default buying experience now. Remote selling isn't a side project anymore. It's the core operating model for modern B2B teams. When 92% of B2B buyers prefer virtual sales interactions, back to the office doesn't fix the real challenge: building a sales motion that wins on video, phone, and email. Remote management isn't a culture initiative, it's revenue infrastructure. The workforce data backs it up. Gallup reports that among U.S. remote-capable workers, 52% are hybrid and 26% are fully remote, which means most SDR and AE teams are distributed by default. For sales leaders, that shifts the management job from walking the floor to designing a system that runs without constant proximity. And buyers aren't waiting for your org chart to catch up. Research summarized by Sales Odyssey notes that roughly 80% of B2B sales are now made virtually. So your remote reps need to be excellent at creating urgency, trust, and clarity without in-person momentum. The upside is huge if we manage the fundamentals with the same rigor we apply to pipeline. Why remote teams outperform, and why many still struggle. Remote sales teams can absolutely beat in-office teams when they're managed intentionally. Industry research shows 77% of sales teams reported higher productivity after moving remote, and 74% of sales leaders said remote work improved overall sales performance. In other words, the model works if leadership replaces proximity with clarity. The more selling time advantage is real too. The same body of research reports 60% of organizations saw outbound activity increase after adopting remote sales practices. And additional benchmarks show 69% of sales professionals believe remote work enhances productivity, while 50% of companies attribute increased sales revenue to remote and hybrid strategies. Remote doesn't reduce output. It often amplifies it when we remove friction and protect focus. The catch is management gaps show up faster when everyone is distributed. According to Zipdo, 52% of sales managers say coaching is harder remotely. 58% struggle to monitor performance, and 61% find it difficult to maintain cohesion. If you feel that tension, it's not a personal failure. It's a sign you need a remote operating system, not more meetings. Build a remote sales operating system. Scorecard, cadence, rules. Remote teams live and die by their operating system. The scorecard you manage to, the cadence you protect, and the expectations you document. Without those, managers default to gut feel, and reps default to improvisation. Both are expensive at scale. The goal is simple. Every rep should know what good looks like today and what to do next without waiting for a manager to notice them. Start with a shared scorecard that balances activity, conversion, and outcomes. We found that 5 to 7 core metrics consistently reviewed in the same dashboard creates accountability without micromanagement. It also stops dashboard theater, where teams obsess over dials while ignoring meeting quality and pipeline creation. Then lock a non-negotiable cadence and keep it boring. 1 weekly team meeting for alignment and training, 1 pipeline review for deal rigor, and bi-weekly one-to-ones to coach skills and remove blockers. When every week looks different, remote teams drift. When every week rhymes, reps self-manage between meetings and managers spend time improving behavior instead of chasing updates. Coach behavior with evidence, not anxiety. Remote leadership requires a mindset shift. We can't rely on floor noise, body language, or who looks busy to diagnose performance. That's why the most effective remote managers coach from evidence. Dashboards, call recordings, talk time analysis, and email reply quality rather than reacting to anecdotes. The scorecard tells you where to look. The conversations and messages tell you what to fix. A practical coaching rule that works. Pick one skill improvement per rep per week and make it measurable. One week, it's a stronger opening on cold calls. The next, it's better discovery questions. The next, it's objection handling or tightening the first email in a sequence. This is how you avoid the common remote trap Zipdo highlights. Managers feeling coaching is harder and responding by squeezing activity instead of improving execution. Finally, default to asynchronous communication and reserve live time for high-value moments. Push status updates and process changes into async channels, but protect live meetings for role plays, strategy debates, and deep call reviews where nuance matters. If every update becomes a Zoom call, you eliminate the productivity upside that drives those 77% productivity gains in the first place. Remote teams don't need more supervision. They need clearer standards, tighter feedback loops, and coaching that improves what prospects actually hear. Make cohesion and motivation a repeatable process. Culture can't be a vibe when you're distributed. It has to be designed into the rhythm of work. If cohesion is left to chance, it becomes the first casualty of growth, new hires, and time zones. Exactly why 61% of managers report cohesion as a challenge in remote and hybrid setups. The fix isn't forced fun. It's consistent rituals that create connection while still respecting focus. Engagement is achievable remotely, but only when reps feel supported and seen. Gallup reports 31% of exclusively remote employees are engaged versus 23% of hybrid and other on-site remote-capable employees, which is a useful reminder. Remote work doesn't automatically create disengagement. What drives engagement is clear expectations, visible progress, and recognition that highlights quality, especially when great work happens off-camera. Build simple, repeatable connection points into your cadence. Start the weekly team meeting with wins and peer shoutouts. Rotate a call of the month breakdown to make learning social, and pair every new SDR with a buddy for the first 60 days. These aren't extras. They reduce isolation risk and increase knowledge sharing, which directly improves conversion rates and retention. When recognition and collaboration are systemized, motivation rises without managers hovering. Fix the common remote management mistakes before they compound. The most damaging mistake we see is managing by gut feel instead of a clear remote scorecard. In an office, managers can sense performance. Remotely, that instinct gets noisy and inconsistent, which leads to overreactions and missed early warning signs. A visible scorecard, reviewed the same way in every one-to-one, makes performance discussions factual and coaching-focused instead of emotional. The second mistake is micromanaging activity when outcomes lag. Remote anxiety often turns into rigid scripts, constant pings, or obsessive dial targets, behavior that kills trust and usually hurts meetings booked. Set reasonable activity guardrails, but coach toward the metrics that matter: connect rates, meeting quality, show rate, and pipeline created. Then let reps own their day as long as they hit outcomes. The third mistake is under-structuring onboarding because a hire is experienced. Without in-office osmosis, even top performers need a written 30-60-90 plan with clear certifications, mock calls, test emails, sequence reviews, and weekly targets that ramp logically. When onboarding is treated like a project, messaging becomes consistent, time to productivity drops, and managers spend less time firefighting preventable gaps. Choose a tech stack that enables coaching and execution. Your tools either enable remote performance or quietly sabotage it. At minimum, remote teams need a CRM, a sales engagement platform, a reliable dialer, and call recording or conversation intelligence so coaching can happen without sitting side by side. If you're running outbound without those basics, you're asking managers to diagnose performance with partial data and asking reps to do more admin than selling. The highest performing teams treat the stack as a workflow, not a shopping list. They standardize where updates live, how handoffs work, how sequences are built, and how calls are reviewed. So execution is consistent even when headcount grows fast. This is also where AI personalization is becoming table stakes. Tools like SalesHive's eMod engine help teams scale quality outreach without forcing reps to write every email from scratch, which matters whether you run in-house or partner with a cold email agency. When teams ask us how to improve quickly, we recommend auditing a day in the life of an SDR and listing every tool they touch. Then, eliminate redundancy, fill gaps that prevent coaching, and record short walkthroughs so how we work is repeatable. That's how remote teams stay consistent, whether you hire SDRs internally or rely on sales outsourcing through an outbound sales agency. Decide what to build in-house versus outsource, and what to do next. A strong remote sales motion is absolutely buildable in-house, but it isn't free. Hiring, onboarding, building lists, setting up deliverability, running QA, and coaching calls takes real management bandwidth, especially if outbound isn't your core competency. If speed to pipeline matters, many teams use a hybrid approach. Internal AEs focus on deal strategy and closing, while an outsourced sales team handles consistent top-of-funnel execution. This is where working with a specialist can shortcut years of trial and error. SalesHive operates as a B2B sales agency and SDR agency built specifically for remote execution, combining cold calling services with email outreach, list building, and transparent reporting. Across our client base, we've booked 100,000 plus meetings for 1,500 plus B2B clients, which is why companies evaluating cold calling companies and sales development agency partners often start with prove it fast pilot campaigns instead of long internal rebuilds. The next step is straightforward. Publish your scorecard this week, lock your recurring cadence, and implement a coaching loop that reviews real calls and real replies, not just activity volume. Then decide whether you'll staff, train, and manage the outbound engine internally or partner with a cold calling agency that already has the processes and QA muscle in place. Remote selling will keep moving toward more virtual-first buying and more AI-enabled execution. The teams that win will be the ones that systemize management before growth forces it on them.